Hitting the Post, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things soccer across North Jersey. This is Season 5, Episode 3, and we are being brought to you tonight by Felician University. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by the other guy who joins me on Hitting the Post. He is Richie Ballgame Barton. What's going on, Richie B?
Not much, buddy. Just laced them up, ready to talk some soccer, and now the county tournaments are getting real.
Yes, they are. We are down to the quarterfinals in the Bergen County boys tournament. We are down to the quarterfinals in the Bergen County girls tournament, and we have a great guest for the show this evening, Casey Schick, the head coach of the Glen Rock boys program, and also a Glen Rock alum, leading his team into the quarterfinals this weekend against top-seeded Old Tappan that's a game that we could have seen in last year's final, if not for a crazy finish in the semifinals where Glen Rock was knocked out. So I'm interested to get his, and Richie B, Casey Schick, part of this younger generation of guys coming up and really putting their stamp on North Jersey high school soccer.
No doubt about it. He's right up there, guys. So yesterday, he was probably on the same age, Sam Rocca from White Valley. These young guys are bringing in not only, they've played the game, but they're bringing in a lot of energy, and kids are really, getting behind it, and that's why you see the so many programs being so successul nowadays. It's not just the same 3 or 4 teams every year. New teams are popping up every year, and they've got talent. Yes,
no, you're absolutely right. We'll get into all that stuff with Casey Schick. We're also going to talk about the girls' tournament, too, after we do the Casey Schick interview. On the girls' side in Bergen County, it is absolute chalk, except number 9 Westwood takes the place of the number 8 seed in the game against Northern Highlands. But we'll get into that. But first, we got a guest on this edition of Hitting the Post, sponsored by the great Felician University here, and joining us on the line a couple of days out from what is the next biggest match of the season. He is Glen Rock head coach Casey Schick. Casey, thanks for joining us here on Hitting the Post.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I've seen and heard a lot of the other coaches who you had on, so it's nice to be in that company with those guys.
Oh, those guys. We get them out of the way early. We just, we try to clear the deck. This is the one we've been looking forward to, right, Richie B? Forget Evan and Mark Torrey.
They're on, it seems like, every other week. Let's get some new blood in here. Glen Rock is the up-and-coming program in Bergen County. Can't wait to talk all about it.
Yeah, well, let's jump right in because, there's a bunch of things we want to talk about, but why don't we start on the field first? Case, you got the chance of a lifetime quarterfinal match against top-seeded Old Tappan coming up this Sunday at Ramsey High School. You guys are 12-0 going into it. You got a senior-laden team. You've been through the wars together. Just talk about your mindset here, what you're talking to the kids about 2 days out from, a golden opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Our mindset is very similar to what our mindset was last year in the counties. Being the underdog, having that mentality and, trying to earn, the respect, of fellow coaches and the committee and, fellow, teams around. And what better way to do it than Sunday, against the number 1 seed. So, it's nice that we're getting, all this press and our guys are, able to shine the spotlight, but they have to realize that, we're going to play with a chip on our shoulder, and we're, an underdog team and the underdog mentality. With the talent we have, I think, it's a kind of a deadly combination. And we have nothing to lose on Sunday, and put all those things together, and hopefully we put on a show and have a good game on Sunday.
You said the words. I wrote it down here in quotes. Last year in the counties. So you brought it up. I didn't, but I'm going to expand on it. Last year in the Bergen County tournament semifinals against eventual champion Ramapo was the craziest finish to a game that I have ever seen in my 20-plus years of covering high school sports. Ramapo scored, then it was waved off, then it was waved back on. A referee got hurt. That changed kind of the parameters. Bottom line is, whether the call was right or whether it was wrong, I don't talk about officials, this, that, and the other thing. They do the best they can. But
right.
It was a heartbreaker, no matter how you slice it. How much does that game play into what you guys are trying to accomplish this year? And you are free to say nothing. How do you talk? How do you reconcile the past with what's going on now?
Yeah, first I want to say, I'm surprised it took you this long to ask me.
Well, I was itching. I was itching from the first second.
I figured it was coming. So,
yeah.
No, as much as I don't like to dwell on the past, and I tell the players, don't dwell on the past, and we have to move on. I did tell them, keep a piece of what happened last year in the counties and in the state tournament, which we got upset in the second round. And I said, keep a piece of that and know that feeling of not completing something that you wanted to, and bring that with you this year. I don't want to bring the controversial calls and all that stuff into the picture and into this year, because we want to focus on what we can do as a team. And we're always focusing on the game ahead. But I did tell them to keep a piece of that that loss in their mind, and that that chip on their shoulder from last year, and how if they felt we got gypped or however it went, don't let that feeling happen again. Don't let referees dictate whether you win or lose. If we do what we need to do on the field, put 2 or 3 goals in and not give too many up, then we shouldn't have any outside factors, factor in to whether we win or lose a game. So I definitely, let them know that, we definitely have a bad taste in our mouth from last year, but, we definitely don't dwell on that. We're looking, forward to Old Tappan, and, our entire focus this year is what we set out to do in, middle of August, which was win the league, win the county, and win the state. So I think them just bringing a little bit from last year has helped propel us to where we are right now.
Richie, he's done reading off his prepared statement. He was ready for that question. he handled it like an old pro, even though when you see him, he still looks like he looks like he's a sophomore in college.
It was a Word document. He's reading right off the
I had Cusack write it up for me.
Yeah. Yes. Go ahead, Richie.
Coach, just talking about the Panthers, I think the key for you this year so far is, you have 6-7 guys that have at least 3 assists. That means really moving the ball around a lot, and you're getting a lot of production from a lot of different guys. And when you do that, you really put pressure on the opposing defense.
Yeah. What's nice is, we do have, those, 2 or 3 big name guys who, their names are always in the paper, and that's great. But, we do have so many areas where, we do produce from, whether it's, the guys in the back or the midfielders or the guys up top, and even the younger guys coming off our bench, have made a big impact this year already. So I think in that respect, it is hard to, either scout us or defend us, because we can throw kind of like the kitchen sink at you, where we can put different guys in different positions and kind of move things around. And we obviously, can rely on the big names like Bukowski or Rogers, Buckle, but we don't have to, which is a good thing. We have younger guys and guys, we'll say that, aren't the big names who are still producing, big goals and producing big assists in big time, in big time plays and big time minutes. So, in that respect, it is hard to kind of get a gauge on, who we are as a team, because, we do produce from, so many more guys than usual, for our team.
I think that's going to help Mark Torrey's scouting report. He's looking, he's listening.
Hey, like I said, I got a little bit from his last episode. And, I was at the game the other day, watching him, them play a little bit. So, hopefully he doesn't want, listen to this or watch this till after Sunday's game. I doubt that'll. Tori, if you're watching, hi, how's it going? Good luck on Sunday.
I'm already checking my text messages, even though this has not appeared yet on NorthJerseySports.com. But to illustrate your point, the game I saw you against Lyndhurst in the opening round of the county tournament, I mean, obviously Zakowski was great, and the other guys that you mentioned, but the goal of the season so far for me, the best one I've seen all year, was Josh Kim. Hit a rocket from 30 yards out that was bending, knuckling, twisting, and made a right-hand turn into the corner of the net. I mean, it was an unsavable shot from that distance. And that was like 10 minutes after he had another one that he bent the other way and forced a great save out of the, what's his name, Liuzzi, the Lyndhurst goalkeeper. So, like you're saying there you go, Tori. There's a little bit more for your for your bread basket.
I thought you said you weren't going to give him my salary.
Right. Yeah. The only thing is, take it all with a grain of salt, because I really don't know anything about the game of soccer. But our like I said, our defense is producing when they need to. We play well as a team. It's nice that we can have the production from the defenders, because our offense kind of allows that every once in a while, to get those guys forward a little bit. And you see it in every team now, not just us, but, you see those defenders trying to, come out of the back and build with the attack. Josh has been playing great lockdown defense, but, he picked spots to get forward, and, it worked out pretty well against Lyndhurst. So. Go ahead, Richie.
Just from distance from our story, just from a formation standpoint.
You know what? You're free to hang up anytime you want, Casey. We're getting way too down the road here. No, go ahead, Richie.
I mean, do you like to tinker when you play, some of these top teams, or were you just thinking, all right, we're just going to play our style. If we win 50-50 balls to the back, we're going to be okay?
We try not to tinker too much, only because we play best in the formation that we've been playing with all year and are comfortable in. The boys have such great soccer knowledge that if we do have to tinker, and we've talked about whether we go down, if we go down and we got to get a goal late in a game, how do we kind of make adjustments to that and tinker with that stuff. So, their soccer IQ, is off the charts, definitely higher than my IQ in high school for playing soccer. So when I do talk to them about adjustments, or when we do have to tinker with, the formation, they're okay with it, and they take what we say, and they understand the game so well that there isn't much of a conversation, or, a lot of the guys, if I have to move them somewhere else, there aren't questions of how to play this position or what I have to do in a certain spot. They're pretty good with knowing what they need to do, where they need to do it, and how they need to do it. So, we're very comfortable with the formation we play, but if we do have to tinker a little bit here and there, my boys are up for the challenge, and I know they can handle it. So.
You brought up a couple of things in there that I'm very interested to get your take on, because you're, part of the younger generation of coaches coming up in here, and I was over at the Glen Rock complex, like I mentioned, against Lyndhurst. It's beautiful. You got your own soccer field now. I mean, you played on the football field, but you have your own soccer area down there at the bottom. It's turfed. You had a good crowd on a rainy day. You have, I don't know what your numbers are, but we do a football show here every week too, and one of the main topics of conversation week in and week out is, where are all the football players going? Well, you look at the way soccer is growing here, it's been an explosion. You got guys making cuts and still carrying 25, 27 guys on the roster. People trying out. People, in Old Tappan on a Friday night, they got a whole bunch of people to see him play Pascack Valley. It's starting to become a community event. It's obvious we've been talking about the rise of soccer for many years. Of course, NorthJerseySports.com was way ahead of the curve. We stopped following that gigantic football years ago to get involved with some of this stuff. How do you see it from your perspective as a young guy now, with really what is, started under your head coach when you played at Glen Rock, Paul Cusack, and you've taken it over and taken it, continuing the upward rise of a really good small school program and how it fits in with the rest of everything that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Cusack built the program up. He was the head coach for 16 years. So, all the success that we're having right now and all the success, quote unquote, I'm having right now, obviously stems from him, building up the program. So, obviously my hat's off to him, and, I talk to him daily, and, he's now on our coaching staff as a freshman coach, which, he always jokes with me like, hey, thanks for, bringing me back, which is good. But, I'll tell you, when I played for him a while back, it still is a football town, and all my respect to Kurz and the football guys, and, we want nothing but the best from them, and, want them, to do well also. But, it was never a factor where they were looking, Cusack was looking to make cuts, or when I was a player, I was never under the impression like, oh man, like, I'm trying to make the varsity team, or I'm trying to make the freshman team, and on top of that, am I going to get cut from the entire program? There wasn't any of that, and then, shift to a couple of years ago, and there's an influx of, freshmen and influx of all these, soccer players, and, we've had to make cuts the last couple of years, and, for a small school, it's hard to do because you're not used to it. The community's not used to it, and,
right.
Then you look at the football program, and, we have more soccer, kids coming out for the soccer team the last couple of years in the football program, which says a lot about our sport, and how much it's growing. And, we love to see it grow. We obviously don't want to see another sport suffer from that. But I think our feeder program, the Shooting Stars, and what they're doing, and everything, and that's growing. So of course, if that grows, then our program's going to grow and continue to do well. So we're just hoping that that continues over for as long as we're here. So
yeah, but those are all great answers from the Glen Rock perspective, and it's everywhere. I mean, Richfield can't field a football team. They have a soccer team. Powell Park struggles on the football side. They are well stocked on the soccer side. I mean, you see it all over the place, and it's great. It's great for high school soccer because, well, let's put it in terms of this year's Bergen County tournament. I mean, your team is the de facto 8 seed. They don't put numbers next to the names, and you have all these seniors coming back from a team that would have, could have, should have in last year's semifinals against the 4-time champion. I mean, it's can you feel it that it's there's like a soccer revolution? Because what the other thing is too is you're sitting here. I'm a soccer junkie now, and I can sit on my couch and I can watch games from Germany. I can watch games from Mexico. I can watch the MLS. I can watch the English Premier League. These kids are growing up with it now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's so much more exposure now when you're younger, on TV. Like you said, there's a lot of games from all over the world, not just from the U.S., and I think that's a huge part of it, as much as, NFL and football is such a big sport, and it's always on Sundays and Thursdays now, and, but soccer, you can watch a game every day of the week, at any time of the night or any time during the day, and you see the level of ability and skills that these guys have, and obviously it's transferring here because you just see this big influx of soccer in our town and in towns surrounding. So it's been great, and it's nice to see when we do have a big county game and this big senior class. You see all these younger kids coming to watch the games, and that's when you kind of notice like, hey, maybe there's something happening here where there's a little switch from the mainstream football to now, a lot of people picking up soccer. And, it's a good problem for us to have,
Yeah.
Obviously making cuts, weighs on me, and it weighs on the coaching staff, it weighs on the kids and the parents.
Yeah.
But it's a good problem to have. Obviously, we would love to keep every kid we could, but, right now, because of how many kids are coming out and how many kids are so involved with our rec programs and our feeder programs, the Shooting Stars, and now at the high school, like I said, it's a good problem to have. So we like it, and it shows, the success we're having. Obviously, it stems from that.
I think the answer is, I just came up with it while I was listening to you answer that question so eloquently. We start a Premier League 2. That's it. Start a Premier League 2. Yeah. Glen Rock A, Glen Rock B. It's done all over the world, and I keep feeling like the sports landscape has changed so much since we've been doing this, and in some sports just haven't kept in high school haven't kept up with the changing. Just the way they're played and participated in and everything else. I think we should try everything wacky. So, and, you want to keep kids involved. The high school sports are extracurricular activities played by high school students. And I get it. You can only carry so many guys. The bus is only so big. You only got so many jerseys. I fully understand the predicament that you're in. So maybe the answer is, like a couple of, maybe a B team, A team, B team, JV freshman. Add another one. Anyway,
I mean, hey, they have that, in our feeder programs, they have, an A, B, C flight or, however they decipher it. So, if we could and, the funds were there, that would be, one way to solve the problem. One thing that one of my assistant coaches, Carl Johnson, who's been around for a long time, he actually said the other day, not slighting our, bench players or our reserves, but with the talent that we have this year and the big senior class we have, if we were to play our league teams and some of the other teams that we play with our reserves and our second tier players, we would compete with those teams, And like you said, that kind of goes with what you were saying about the whole A and B team. We would be able to compete, and we do have a tough league. We play Rutherford, Garfield, Hawthorne, Compton Lakes. Those are all very close games for us. So no slight to them, no slight to anybody else. But if we were able to do it, that would obviously keep more kids involved in the game for as long as possible before going to off to college or what they're doing after high school.
Yes, go ahead, Richie.
The one thing I would say about the landscape changing is that you notice it with more so with the Group 1 and Group 2 schools is now with so many of these teams. I mean, even going back to the 90s and the early 2000s. Even the good Group 1 and Group 2 teams, you were kind of trying to hide some kids.
Yes.
Where they weren't, they were athletic or they were aggressive, but they weren't necessarily soccer players. And now...
Like you, Richie.
Got through college without being able to juggle a ball.
The left foot only there for balance.
Get me upright. Not so much now, but you're not. You have 11 kids on the field, and probably more. Guys that come off the bench that are all soccer players that all grew up playing soccer on travel teams, on club teams, and I think that just makes the sport better, and especially in Bergen County. Infinitely better, just from top to bottom, because of I think the top players are similar to the top players of, again, teams that we covered 10, 15 years ago, but the depth of these teams is so much more prevalent now.
And I think it's a great point, because I see it in the style of play now. Like Casey said earlier, he's building out of the back. He's using his defenders. I mean, how many times when 15 years ago, Richie, a good team that was perceived to be lesser, just put 10 behind the ball and pray for 0-0. I don't see it. I'm not saying it doesn't still happen, but I see it less than I used to. Casey, do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, just even me, when you guys are saying about that, just thinking back to the guys that I played with, and there were great athletes on the team, and, most of us were, 3-sport athletes in high school, but a lot of the guys that I played with, soccer wasn't their one sport. It was probably their second or even their third sport. But we did have a great team. We were ranked, second in our sections for my senior year. And, it didn't go over well, but, we were still up there with some of the best. But we were able to do that with a lot of athletes and a few soccer players here and there, like Patron, Beverin, a couple of us. But a lot of it were athletes. Whereas now you're getting a lot of soccer players and some athletes, but you don't see as many, athletes starting or making a big impact, because they're, the depth is for us, it is a lot, deeper than it has been.
You mentioned the name of the great Sam Petrone, who will live in infamy on NorthJerseySports.com for a state playoff game, and I'll tell you that I'm back through the archives here. On Friday, November 3rd, 2006, a brilliant young reporter named Corey K. Doviak was in attendance on the then grass field when Sam Petrone, now quoting directly from the article, stepped down hard, forcing all of his weight and his cleats into the middle of a kid named Conrad from Newton's back. A freshman from Newton made it halfway off the field before going down and needing help the rest of the way. He removed his shirt to get attention, and the shoe imprint was clearly visible and already bruised. Wow. We can say that now because Sam Petrone is no longer a minor.
Classic Sam, and I could talk about Sam because he's one of my good friends. I grew up with him for a long time, and I still, see him every once in a while, and I talk with him, especially during soccer season. When he sees our success, he kind of, reaches out and lets me know, that he's watching and he's really up on us. So he's a good guy, and that's who he was back then. But you know what? He grew up a lot, and was successful playing after college and and overseas a little bit. But that is the infamous Sam Petrone as we know him.
Yes. Well, tell him not to listen to this. Or, you know what? Tell him, listen, by stepping on Conrad's back, he has, 11 years later, or whatever it is, 12 years later, we're still talking about it. So
we're still talking about him. Yeah, I'll shoot him a text tonight and let him know to tune in.
And tell him we want him on the show next week, too, to explain himself.
Listen, be careful what you wish for. I can get him for you.
All right, last thing from me.
Sure.
We mentioned Paul Cusack earlier. When I started covering Glen Rock, he was Glen Rock soccer. I had some great battles with Jimmy Fusey at Cliffside Park. I mean, good stuff. And now he's back on your thing. But how about just taking over the program? Listen, anybody would be psyched to get a head coaching job in Bergen County. There's not that many of them when you think about all the guys who would like it. And you happen to get the one. Not that you didn't deserve it. You put in all the hard work and everything else. But to be back at your alma mater and coaching, the success is great and everything else, but it's got to be nice for you to walk behind the school that you grew up going to.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be coaching anywhere else. When I, finished college, my mom worked at the high school, so she actually talked to Cusack one day, just passing the halls, and he's like, hey, if Casey's looking for, a coaching gig, tell him to, reach out to me, and I did once I got home from college, and I was with him as an assistant for a year, and then the JV job opened up, and I kind of slid right into that, and I was under his tutelage, as a coach now, not only as a player, seeing that one side, but then being under him as a coach for 8 years before I took over. Obviously I learned a lot from him, what to say, what not to say, who to talk to. Why do you think I'm answering these questions, so politely?
I was just going to say he taught you well. You're out, Cusack. We wanted some dirt here tonight, and we got nothing.
Nothing. So he taught me a lot. Like I said, as a player, but then when I came back, he taught me a lot as a coach as well, and how to handle things in tough situations. And like I said, I wouldn't want to be coaching any other place besides my alma mater. And being able to take over for him, a couple of years ago, it was what I wanted since I came back to coaching. I always wanted to be a head coach and to coach soccer and to be able to do it at Glen Rock and to see the success that the boys have had the last few years and all the hard work that they put in the off season and in season pay off. It's just great. And like I said, I don't have to motivate them to do much. They are very self-motivated, and I'm just here to kind of guide them in the right direction. And they take care of business on the field. but it's nice, obviously, to have Cusack back as the freshman coach. After a couple of years, in the last two years, I've been trying to get him back. He's like, nah. He has kids, and that was obviously in the forefront of his mind. And then, this year, after a couple of years of bugging him, he finally kind of caved in. So I'm glad we got him back. I don't know how long we'll have him for, but obviously, we're happy that he's back.
Right, and he's feeding his kids into the Ramsey School District. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
When time comes, we'll have to have a little chat because
we'll bring Sam Patron back.
Hey, listen, we'll bring Patron back. We'll bring him back. We'll bring Cusack's son and daughter back over to Glen Rock. I don't want to be feeding him to Phillips right now. They're on a good run too. So.
Yeah, they are. Casey Schick, great stuff. We certainly, when I reached out to you to have you on the show, I certainly didn't think I was going to steal a half hour of your time here 2 days before you're getting ready to play a county quarterfinal. But this was a fun conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us here. And good luck on Sunday.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. And if you want Patron on, just let me know, and I'll give you the hookup.
No doubt. All right, Richie B. You heard it there, and we ran long with Casey Schick, which does not give us long to talk about the girls' tournaments. Well, first of all, we'll get into Bergen County girls' tournament. But you want to give us a little update? You mentioned at the open of the show, you covered Wayne Valley in an overtime win over Hawthorne in the Passaic County tournament. You want to give us a little rundown of what's going on up there?
Passaic County, besides Wayne Valley, Passaic Valley pulled a little bit of an upset over Hawthorne Christian to get to the quarterfinals. Clifton, defending champion, the top seed, but there are a couple teams right behind them. Wayne Hills is usually pretty strong. You got the 2-seed PCT, and then 3-seed Passaic with maybe North Jersey's most exciting player, Miguel Sensiu. They're going to be a lot of teams. I could see all 4 seeds get through the semifinals, but I could see a couple teams, sneaking in there, knock them off. Wayne Valley being one of them. I mean, they're an 11th seed. I was really impressed with the way they played, the way they knocked the ball around on a grass field at Hawthorne, which is not easy to do.
But way to ride the fence, Richie B. I could see all the higher seeds going through, or they might not. Analysis
from college, you'd be proud of that assessment.
Analysis you can't get anywhere else but here on Hitting the Post. All right, let's touch on the Bergen County tournament, the girls' side. You got number 1 Northern Highlands against number 9 Westwood. You got number 2 Ramapo against number 7 Pascack Valley. Number 3 Ramsey against number 6 Ridgewood. And the Battle of the Northern Valley, number 4 Demarest against number 4 Old Tappan in the nightcap on Sunday at Indian Hills. And Richie, which one? Listen, we've been talking about it all year. We talked about it with Kevin Sabella on a show earlier this season. Ramsey's real good. They're the number 3 seed, made county final last year. But this year, we had video of the classic game between Highlands and Ramapo. Ramapo wins in overtime, came from 2-1 down to win 3-2. And those 2 teams have been on a collision course all year. They've already met once. Do you see it going on any other way besides a, Ramapo Highlands final? Or, as you say, can somebody else sneak in?
Ramsey could if they play their absolute A game, but it's going to be hard. It's hard to see either of those teams losing to anyone but each other. I think Highlands and Ramapo are on a collision course, and I think that's going to be the most highly anticipated county final in quite some time, for sure.
Yes. You're right. Ramsey has a shot. I saw Ramsey-Ramapo in a regular season earlier. It was a 2-1 win for Ramapo. Ramsey certainly, had its moments in that game, too. But it's Highlands-Ramapo for me, too, until proven otherwise. The interesting one around here is number 4 Demarest against number 5 Old Tappan. Now, Demarest, the number 4 seed, it's the highest seed they've ever gotten in the Bergen County tournament. They played they played Northern Highlands tough this year. They have, how about this? They have a all-county level goalkeeper in Emma Miller. And then in front of her are 2 freshmen. Hamlin, who is, her name is Grace Hamlin. I was struggling there for her first name, who is the younger sister of Ellen Hamlin, who is the volleyball player now playing at Colgate on the collegiate level. Her younger sister, and then the younger sister also of the Demarest quarterback, Joe Argenziano. The sister is Elizabeth Argenziano, and she's starting. So they have two outside defenders who are freshmen, and then Kira Pialtos, who's moved back into the central defender role from, she's a track star, and she's back in the center field. They have a good group of seniors, good mix of youth. They are trying to get to the semifinals. I believe when I was asking around, it would be the first time in school history, and their opponent happens to be Old Tappan, and this brings me back to what we've been talking about on the football show and in other places where, you know, we're moving away from traditional rivalries. Demarest and Old Tappan, which are about 2.2 miles from each other, don't play each other in the regular season. This is the only time they're going to see each other this year. Happens to be in the county quarterfinals. Kathy Wayman, who is the first-year head coach of Old Tappan, took over for Tom Quinn, who had a great 23-year career. The Old Tappan has a very thick junior class, but was thought to be probably a year away. Lost a bunch of good seniors from last year's team, including Caroline O'Sullivan, who's now running track at the University of Pennsylvania. Anyway, Richie B, Old Tappan might be ahead of schedule, and I think that's the biggest toss-up game of the quarterfinal round. You haven't seen any of them, so don't say anything.
It's true. You know what, though? I'm curious to see Ramsey Ridgewood.
Yeah.
Because Ridgewood, I mean, it just from, again, I haven't seen him live yet, so I can only say from box scores, but they seem like a tough team to read. Just asking some other coaches around the county, they say, the talent is there, but they just, play in waves. Like, they look great for a stretch of time, then they look average for a stretch of time, generally in the same half. So, in both games, it's just a matter of going to be, who can be more consistent, who could ride the wave, and if, again, once you get this deep in the county tournament, if you score first, huge advantage.
You know what, Richie, just hearkening back to something we were talking to Casey about, young coaches. Kathy Wayman at Old Tappan in her first year. Westwood has Westwood had the great run to the Group 2 state final last year. Eric Pfeiffer left for IHA. They have a new coach. Ridgewood, another legend in Bergen County, Jeff Yearing, he stepped down after last year, so Ridgewood's got a new head coach, and 3 teams with brand new head coaches in the final. And, Sarah Franchini is young as well at Round Post, so really half of them are kids that we covered, which is terrible. When you, I'm speaking from our perspective as old men now at this point in time, but Pascack Valley, again, another team that lost a ton of senior leadership from last year's team, and doing a great job under Amy Lombardo to get back to the quarterfinals here too. So there's a lot of interesting storylines, even if we want to say that 1 and 2 are the obvious favorites to make it through to the semifinals and then the finals.
And the thing about PV is they have a bona fide goal scorer in Ariana Cavedo.
Yes, returning all-county player, yep.
Right, and if she could put one in early and they kind of pack it in a little bit, how does Rampo respond to that? But, the games are going to play themselves out on Sunday, and we're going to be there to cover them.
Yes, we certainly will. We will cover them this weekend. We will talk about them next week on the next edition of Hitting the Post. We'll see you then.
Follow the leader.